Welcome to the Cosmic Perspective. On today's episode, I speak with my buddy Cory again. He comes over and we actually talk about a number of things. So we talk about fitness, we talk about music, we talk about like his rare hearing loss condition and how that affected his music career, which kind of led him onto the path that he's on now as a fitness coach. And you're going to get all sorts of inspiring stuff from him. And I think you guys will enjoy this episode. So without further ado, here is the podcast. Well, thank you, Cory, for coming on again.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, I appreciate it. And I want to talk about a couple things that you've done recently. And then I want to make sure, because we didn't talk about it that much on the last one, we got to talk about music because that is another huge part of your life. So,
for sure.
But let's start with fitness because there is some recent milestones that you've achieved. And in general, fitness is something that I hope that on all future podcasts of you coming on, people expect to hear at least a little bit about that, since it really is like your fucking forte. You like literally live it and breathe it. I see you on Instagram. You are fucking working out like every day and you're motivating people, and it's super dope.
Thank you.
So tell the audience a little bit about your first marathon.
All right. So my first marathon kicked my butt. It really did. It was one of those things that if you asked me a year ago if I was going to run a marathon or had any idea or any want to run a marathon, I would have said, no way. I can't do that. Like, that's not me. I'm a sprinter, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And I think it really stemmed from hanging out with the community that I do hang out with. A lot of people in the fitness communities and the running communities and people that have an active lifestyle around me are all like longer distance runners and run marathons and are people who just are really inspiring to me in that way. And so I think when I think about really going outside of my comfort level, that nailed it, because it was something that it just seemed so far away. But then once I set that goal, I'm like, all right, I'm going to start training. I'm going to really go for it. Things kind of fell into place. But yeah, the actual marathon kicked my butt. It was the longest 26.2 miles I've ever run. The only 26.2 miles I've ever run.
I was going to say, so it was a first for a reason.
Yep. And yeah, I mean, I started out pretty great. I felt good. It was really great to see all the people cheering, strangers, people I knew, people I didn't know. There was over 40,000 people running this thing. So you just, I mean, you're just constantly just soaking in all the vibes.
Yeah. The energy is important. You can feed off of it, literally.
Oh man. And it's something I had to keep telling myself, okay, don't push it too quick at the start, because you have
it's
all
a
this
marathon. It's not a sprint, literally.
No, exactly. And it started off, and I got to tell myself, don't let your adrenaline get to you. You just got to take it at a nice, easy pace. And if you feel like you can take it a little bit quicker toward the end, then do that. And I felt good. My family was here. My sister was here, and it was great to see them. And I got to about mile 15, 16. I started feeling myself getting sore, feeling my legs getting heavy. I'm like, all right, it's fine. I got this. I don't feel winded at all. I feel great. Like, I can breathe. It's fine. It starts raining. It starts downpouring. It's just another thing to make me feel like more like a badass. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm like running in this rain.
Hell yeah.
And
I'm beating the elements too.
Yeah, exactly. And then I got to mile 20, and I like can't feel my legs, or I can feel my legs. They hurt really bad, but it's like one of those things where it's like, I have to like tell myself literally left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot.
Oh yeah.
And it was such a mental game, like more than physically at all, really. Cause it's just the willpower to keep going, was just such an important aspect of this marathon. And before the marathon even started, I told myself, okay, if you do one thing, it's don't stop, don't walk, just keep going the entire time. I don't care how long it takes me. I'd like to finish in 4 hours if I can, but if it takes me longer, I don't care. I just want to not have to stop or walk. And once I got to mile 20, I really had to keep telling myself that, because I wanted to stop. I wanted to start walking, but then I remembered why I was running this marathon. I remembered who was watching me, who was, supporting me and encouraging me and cheering for me, and seeing all the signs from people, just all these weird signs and hilarious signs and things just motivate me.
Yeah.
Really helped. And I like I said, I hit that wall at mile 20. I was just shuffling along, barely going,
barely above a walking pace, but still technically running.
Still technically running. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah.
And then I got to that last 0.2 miles. I saw the finish line. Even before that, I got to like mile 20 and I was at 3 hours and 45 minutes. And I'm like, all right, I'm not going to get my goal of 4 hours, but I have to at least get 5 hours. And so I'm like, just going at a steady pace, get to that last 0.2 miles. And I thought to myself, I feel like if I don't sprint this and give it everything and empty the tank right here across the finish line, I'm not going to make it under 5 hours. So I gave it everything. I got my marathon photos like you can buy on the internet and everything. Oh, yeah. I look like death, like crossing the finish line. It's like, it's crazy. But
and you know what's even crazier too is like you're like really in shape. It's not a question of like you're not like fucking Bert Kreischer trying to fucking run. Like you're like legit, like you're in shape, you're a fitness person, you're always working out. So it's not a lack of you really being in some form of conditioning. It's just a different kind of conditioning for marathons.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it was there was a lot more training I could have put in for this thing. I honestly, my long runs, I got up to like 12 to 15 miles. I should have been up to like 20, 22 miles for my long runs to really condition,
to truly prepare
my
yourself
legs,
because the end part is where it starts to kill you, right?
Yeah. But I crossed the finish line and I checked and it was like 4 hours and 59 minutes and 8 seconds.
Yeah, so you got under your newfound goal that you readjusted once you were in there. I feel like that's a realistic goal based on like what you realize what your pace were at. So yeah, dude, that's awesome. And you should be really proud in general, but also, tell people why you actually did the marathon, because that's another really cool part about it.
So the reason, my inspiration for doing this marathon isn't only the people that I'm surrounded by here in Chicago that really kind of gave me the bug and was like, oh, I really got to do this. But it was my sister back home. She has special needs. And obviously he's been a big inspiration to me as far as giving everything 100%, just even if I'm not perfect, no one's perfect, as long as I'm trying my best and doing everything with intention and the best I possibly can, then that's good enough, right? And so she teaches me that, and all through growing up. And so when I got a chance to represent GLASA, which is an organization that stands for Great Lakes Adaptive Sports Association.
You're wearing the shirt right now.
I'm wearing the shirt right now.
Yeah, we'll get in the picture.
Yeah. I got an opportunity to represent them in this marathon and raise money that goes toward individuals with disabilities and helping them to be able to participate in the Paralympics for an entire year. And so me being able to represent this amazing organization that goes back and is really deeply rooted in who I am and where I come from was amazing. And I got to meet really cool people, got to, just do it for other reasons other than just myself. And so that's what was really powerful about it.
And you showed something to yourself too of that, I guess that mental toughness where you, despite your body telling you stop, you forced it to keep going, and you overcame it with your mental abilities. And that in and of itself is its own cool lesson. And then when you know that you're fighting for other people, it probably made it easier to then fight that little voice in your head that's saying no, because it's not just for you. But it should be important to at least, I think it's even important to do it just for you. That's
right.
Also its own kind of reward of being able to push yourself through it.
Yeah, for sure. There's so many things in my life that I do because for some reason or another, it jumped in my mind and I figured I want to do something and I want to do it for me. But having that outside, separate reason, those reasons to want to do it other than myself, definitely helps in those times where you just want to give up and you want to quit. You just got to remember those things and really rely on your mental strength, because you might think that you can't go anymore. You might think that your body's not going to allow you to, but in 99% of the times, you can go that next 10 feet.
Yeah.
And when you go that next 10 feet, you can go another 10 feet. And you just keep going small increments. And by the time you know it, you've already gone another mile, or you've already gone whatever distance or accomplished whatever it is you're going for.
And I don't remember which Joe Rogan episode it was, but there was one where he had on some guest that said, your body will tell you that you need to quit, like when you still have another, I don't remember the number, but let's say it was like 20% left in the tank. You know what I mean? Like your body will actually still be capable of doing more. Your mind will tell you to stop it because it's smart, and it knows that in order to really preserve the long-term part of your body, it probably should stop maybe before then. But at the same time, like if you're really trying to push yourself, you kind of have to shut that part off and realize that your body's not actually going to give out until it truly gives out, and the brain is going to tell you way before that.
Yeah.
And just knowing that distinction. But either way, man, that's like super dope. I want to talk a little bit about like your general hustle with like changing people's lives like with their physical fitness. Because I've seen so many transformation pictures that you posted like on your stories where I'm like, damn, I'm like, yo, that guy was like in pretty good shape before, but now he's got a fucking 6-pack, you know? So like, what are some things that you've been able to do to not only motivate these people to, because obviously a lot of it they got to do themselves, but then also really just like the regimens that you follow that seems to be effective for most people, you know, like.
Yeah. So the main thing for me is really helping people build a firm and solid foundation in nutrition. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm really passionate about, is because you can't outwork a bad diet. Like we've talked before, like there's all these things that affect and determine the shape that we're in, you know, and we can look at someone and say, oh, they look like they're in pretty good shape, but you have no idea what's going on inside of them. And so when you really work on transformation from the inside out, that's when things happen, you know, because that's where you create longevity in yourself. You create just the overall health that creates the energy that you need in your everyday life. And it promotes mental health, all these different things that you can't just go to the gym and, you know, pump some iron and be like, all right, that's good. I mean, you can do that, but if you really want to dig deep into your health and like really build that foundation of nutrition, and that's where it all starts.
Yeah, it all starts there, and everything that your body is made of what you're putting the energy into. You know, so if you're rebuilding muscle with new food that you're intaking. So if you're taking in garbage, then you're literally fueling your muscles with garbage. And that's what it's going to end up being. The constitution of it is garbage.
Yeah, you go to the gym and you lift a bunch of weights and you're breaking down your muscle tissue. So yeah, what
do you want to build it back up with?
Yeah, the 23 hours that you're not in the gym every day, what are you doing for your body? Are you just eating, I mean, whatever you're eating, is it what your body needs to build up stronger than it was before? And that's really what I tell people, is like, it's not about being perfect. It's about being a little bit better every single day. So what are you going to do? It doesn't matter as long as you are trying to get better every single day. Whether it's a health goal, an emotional goal, a financial goal, whatever it is, it all stems from fueling your body right to have that energy to keep going.
Yeah, dude, 100%. And I mean, diet is more important than probably even just working out, honestly. Not that working out isn't important, because that's also, I think, equally important, and really equally important for not just physical health, but mental health. Because as human beings, we evolved to be active creatures. I do think that if you are sitting around, and I know Joe Rogan says this all the time, but it's like if you're just sitting around on a desk all day, like that is not what humans were born to do. So you got to use some of that energy somewhere. And I know that when I go to the gym before I go to work, I am way more chill at work. I am way more like able to get through my shift, no problem. Like I'm way nicer to people. And it's because I already got all that like energy and aggression and whatever, my natural just being a fucking man. you know,
these chemicals. I mean, that's what happens when you know. Yeah. There's biological chemical things that happen to your body when you work out that create that sense of
endorphins.
Energy. Yeah, endorphins, and that create that sense of happiness and whatever it is that, happens to be what your day is.
Exactly. So I feel like that's like, I feel like that's super important is nutrition in general. What are some of like, cause I feel like people always, I know I've like shown a bunch of people like exercise, like a proper workout, because I learned from some great people. So like in high school, I played football. So they taught, kind of your basic weight training. So it got me like a good foundation. And then I worked with some other people who were just like, fitness, like they were all about like really getting into fitness. So I learned some stuff from them. And then one of my buddies in college, Russell, shout out to Russell. He learned from his brothers, which really took it seriously. And his brothers are like super jacked, and he's super fucking jacked. This dude's super shredded. And he taught me all about like getting perfect form. Like he was like, yo, like do less weight, get this form right first.
Right.
And I can really like genuinely thank him for getting me the foundation that I have, that now when I go in the gym, like I use my time really effectively. Like I know I do the form really well. And I know that when I'm working out and I'm lifting, like I know I'm hitting all my muscle groups I'm supposed to hit, and I'm doing it in a way that isn't like overkilling any one particular muscle group and is giving me kind of the holistic balance. So what is like a typical, I would say like a week routine? You can kind of break it down by muscle group if you want, however you end up doing it, that really like covers the general, the general health of your body. So covering arms, legs, etc.
Yeah. So for me, like, as you know, there's so much out there as far as exercises you can do, but also different ways of doing them, different forms. I completely agree with you on like form is so much more important than how much weight you're pushing or what exercise you're doing. As long as you're doing the form right, that's what you should be focusing on first. For me personally, I do a lot of calisthenics. I do a lot of body weight, resistance training, band work. That's what I love to do. That's just what works for me in my goals. But I am always catering the workouts to the people that I'm working with. So if someone is trying to lose a bunch of weight, they might have a different workout regimen than someone who's trying to gain 15, 20 pounds of lean muscle. But for me personally, my week would be, I usually work out 6 days a week. The 7th day would be more like stretching, day off, making sure I'm resting, because I think I'm definitely a firm believer that working out intensely every single day with no days off is not good.
No.
Just from personal experience and just what pretty much everything you would read and hear from people is that your body needs time to recover, rebuild, recalibrate, all that kind of stuff. So
totally.
So like 6 days a week I'm working out, and it's going to be a little bit different every day, but what is consistent and stays the same, or not the same, but variations. But the muscle group that I work out every single day is core, lower back and core.
Makes sense.
But I don't know. I don't necessarily do a traditional like back day, chest day, arm day. I do a lot of HIIT workouts. So high intensity intervallic training. Right. Yeah. So that's what I love to do, because it's kind of like a full body workout all in one. You're not necessarily just spending a day doing chest or back or legs, whatever. I have done that and I enjoy it, but I feel like for me, I benefit a lot more from like a HIIT workout. The
holistic approach.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. So some workouts that would be included in that is like, I like rowing a lot. So that's cardio. It's kind of a full body workout.
Yeah.
Do a lot of jump rope. I do a lot of burpees, do a lot of push-ups.
Oh yeah.
Dips, pull-ups, a lot of leg lifts.
Damn, I miss all of those things.
Yeah.
I wish I could do them. Yeah.
I mean,
my fucking injury.
I'll think of some good exercises for you that don't have to utilize your arm so much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't do crunches, right? I am a firm believer that if you want abs, if you want core strength and definition, do leg lifts. Like, either hanging from a bar and lifting your legs, however you want to do it, on the like station where your forearms are resting and your back's against the flat part, and you do whatever it is. That has worked for me better than any other exercise for core.
Totally, because it's the whole thing, and it gets the hard to reach lower abs,
right?
Which are usually neglected because people are just doing crunches.
That is the key.
Yeah.
The upper four abs are not easy, but they're easier to target and engage the lower two abs are so much harder because one, it's a totally different movement, but it's also so much to do with diet. It's so much to do with nutrition for abs in general than in any other part of the body. So that's kind of, I guess I could go into more depth with specifically the exercises.
Sure. Let's at least like give,
Sure.
for some people who really like literally don't know anything about fitness, what would be some good exercises? And you don't have to like super describe them because they can Google, feel free guys, empower yourselves. Google some of the exercises when you hear the names of them and whatnot. But like, what are some like really good ones that you would say, let's start with kind of like focusing on upper body. So what are some really good like upper body exercises that you like to do that you think really can help build strength and, like you said, maybe are even like a little cardio driven?
Yeah. So what I like to do for upper body is I guess far as free weights go, I do a lot of like lateral raises for shoulders.
Oh yeah.
I love
those
that.
are my favorite.
Yeah, I love that. You can really do a ton of variations of that. You don't have to use free weights. You can use machines for it too, or cables, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
But I would say for me, a lot of those, and then I do push-ups a ton.
Yeah.
And for me,
those are great.
As opposed to doing like bench press, I like push-ups. And then if I do want more of a bench press motion, I'll lay on the bench and have 2 dumbbells. And then I'll do variations of having them like closer together or farther apart and just like that. Just
do you do flies?
Yeah, I'll do flies.
Yeah.
I
like flies.
Yeah.
Flies are tricky though. People can easily like tear your pecs when you do that. Like you got to be smart about doing the right amount of weight and being careful about the form.
Yeah, when you're going down,
you don't want to hurt your shoulder.
Yeah, you don't. You got to make sure you're starting with some lighter weight to get the muscle memory there.
Yeah. Once you get the like the stability and you're able to genuinely come down with the right slight bend in your arm and you come down to that point where you're not stretching it too far, then feel free then to start upping the weight. But trust me, form over weight in that exercise.
Yeah.
Very easy to tear something in your shoulder or in your chest. And take it from me, I've literally fucked up both of my shoulders. So I've had to rehab them both.
So don't do what you do.
I tore them in other activities, but yes. So one of them, the first one that I injured, my right shoulder, I tore the rotator cuff. And when I did that, it was actually doing dips, but it was doing weighted dips. So if I just did body weight, I probably would not have tore it. But I did a 45-pound weight tied to a chain while I was doing dips. Yeah, I was pretty fucking strong in college. I'm not going to lie. But I was doing that, and I got a little reckless when I went down, and I had like a pain shoot like up through my back and everything. So it was partially my back also was injured, but then my actual shoulder felt like terrible.
Oh, damn.
And then my other time that hurt the other shoulder was going up to block a basketball shot in a pickup game. And I was on the other side of the ball. Like my hand was on the other side of the ball as the other person, and their shoulder won because mine was like fully extended. Like my arm is like basically like fully out. So I didn't have a lot of support behind it, and it just popped right out of place. I looked down at my shoulder and I'm like, that doesn't look right. And without even really thinking, I just shoved it back in place. Yeah, it was awful. And for like the next several weeks, I was in a sling. Like I couldn't work. I couldn't do anything. It was awful.
Yeah, the biggest thing is listening to your body and really taking it step by step and not going drastic on the first time you're doing something, because you want to really make sure that you're getting the muscle memory, you're feeling out the exercise and the movement form. But really I don't do a lot of machines necessarily. I use the cable machine sometime, but for me, I love just body weight exercises and adding resistance to that if I want to.
Like you said, with like bands or something.
Yeah, bands. Or if I'm doing push-ups, I'll put some plates on my back to add some
like
weight. Or if I'm doing like leg lifts, I'll put a weight between my feet and I'll lift that. So that it adds more strength and power.
Then when you say a weight between your feet, my image goes to like literally a dumbbell, right? Because that's probably the easiest to balance.
Yeah, that, or you can even like use a medicine ball.
Okay. Medicine ball, definitely.
Yeah, you can make it pretty challenging on yourself, which I like. I like challenging myself. And between that, and then really like jump rope. As far as cardio goes, a lot of burpees, a lot of jump rope.
Yeah.
And like I said, rowing too.
Jump rope is really good.
Yeah,
Jump rope is really good for you.
It's good. And I wear ankle weights sometimes.
Oh, damn.
So then
I don't know if I do that.
Yeah. Then it adds that extra
layer.
Extra layer. Yeah. But I'm always looking for that next thing to like challenge myself and be like, all right, has someone done this before? I don't know. I'm going to do it. I'm going to try it out.
Let me add a little remix to it.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's kind of upper body. That's some like core, a little bit of cardio. I'd say for most people, I feel like they want to target abs. Like it's like priority.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I want abs. And then the next would be like arms. Like I want big arms.
Yeah.
And so what I would tell them is like
the beach muscles.
Yeah. It's like I would tell them, all right, yeah, you could do some curls. You could do some like tricep extensions and stuff like that. But really like use the bands because when you're using bands and cable workouts for those groups, you're getting a full extension, but it's also tension and weight the entire time. Yeah. Rather than a weight, like a free weight, you lift it up and then you can just let it down and not have it controlled. Yeah. Is if you're going really slow all the way up and all the way down, that's the key.
Yeah, right? The bands will do that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not about speed. Like a lot of the time, it's just about slow, controlled movement. Because if you can fine tune that, it's going to really break down the muscles even more so you can rebuild them even stronger.
No, definitely, man. Definitely. So what about now, like lower body? So like legs. Cool. What would be some good exercises for people to do?
Yeah. So so if the person is like, I just want to build size, I want to build strength and size. I don't care about definition or whatever. It's like, because it's kind of, for me, it's like two different things because
you're either building muscle or you're cutting.
Yeah.
You can't do both. I also heard that on the Joe Rogan podcast. One of the MMA people was like, he was saying, he's like, yeah. He's like, he's like, whoever's telling you that, like it's an infomercial. Like you can't do both. You can only do one at a time.
It takes some very strict guidance and dedication to do that. It's hard. I mean, it's hard to do both, honestly. If you're really dedicated to it, you can get it done. But for me, like right now for my lower body, I'm doing leg press to build strength because I've never really had much size or strength to my legs, and that's what I'm trying to work on.
Leg press over squats?
For me, a lot of times don't do back squat because of the bar. The bar sometimes can really irritate my shoulder and back and my neck.
Sure. Totally fair.
And I think that just comes down to not doing it a lot. I feel like if I do it more consistently,
or you can use one of those cushions too. Yeah, those do help. They help. It's still going to be a little uncomfortable if you're putting a lot of weight on. Right. If you're not putting a lot of weight on, it's actually not that bad. And what I've been doing is the Smith machine, and that is I feel like the best way to not completely murder your shoulders. Like, you know, there are going to be some people who will like shit on you for the Smith machine. Like, oh, free weights or die. I'm like, dude, I'm just trying to not get hurt. Okay.
Right.
I got bad knees. And when I'm doing squats, I want to do it in the most like safe, controlled way
I'd rather be safe and alive than dead and be able to say I squatted 680 pounds.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I've lost all ego when it comes to the gym. Like, cause for a while, like I definitely went into the gym with like this mentality of like, I want to lift heavy shit, you know, like I was never trying to get like super big, but I like accidentally got bigger than I wanted to be. And, you know what I mean? Like where because of the weight I was doing and the regimen I was doing, like the style I had was I would do 12 to 15 the first week of the month. Then I would do 9 to 11 the second week. And those weeks, I would do a 15-second rest pause, and then you burn out on the fourth set, the last set, cool. Right? Then for the last 2 weeks of the month, I would do 6 to 8. So obviously you're doing more weight each time, right, as you're lowering the reps. I would do 6 to 8, and then it would be a drop set where you do 40% of the weight you just did for the final set, and then 3 to 5 for the last week. So I never plateaued ever. Because it was like I was always always mixing rep ranges, and I was always mixing exercises. So I would have like, let's say for a month I would do bench press with the barbell, and then like dumbbell flies and decline and incline, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then the next month, I would then do maybe dumbbell flat bench and dumbbell incline, and like you just mix up. So it's like more or less the same exercise, but you mix up how you do it. And so when I was mixing up both rep ranges every week and then mixing up exercises every month, I never got stuck ever. So I pretty much
you'll get stronger that way.
I got nonstop strong, it to the point where it was like I didn't need to be. What am I doing? I'm not an athlete. I'm not competing. Like there's no reason for me to be any stronger than I was, and that's part of how I got injured. And now I'm over a year later with this arm still injured, and I totally regret ever doing that. But you have to learn the lesson.
You live and you learn.
Yeah.
I think going back to what you were saying about back squat, it's more so. For me, I like deadlifts. I mean, as far as incorporating both upper and lower body, I really enjoy deadlifts. Not to say there's really any exercise that doesn't do anything necessarily. It's just that everyone's different. And for me, I don't know. I found what works for me, and that's usually what I'll guide people toward. And
because
it
works.
Yeah,
you have the sample size of one where you're like, well, this works. And then over time, then your other people that you're having on, like, then you find out if it works for them. And if the more people it works for, the more you're going to want to suggest it. Although it's not going to work for everybody, it'll work for enough people. Yeah.
It's a personal experience. People are going to believe your personal experience and your story and your why you've done it and what you've succeeded with over just what you might read somewhere or something like that, because you're like, well, how legit is that, or how real is that? I'm going to listen to the person who's talking to me face to face, or is my coach or whatever, so
definitely.
Or the person that's there standing right beside you doing it with you, and clearly they're doing it and they look a certain way or they're feeling a certain way. And if you want to be like that person, then you should probably do what they're doing.
Yeah, no, 100%. I agree. So upper body, lower body, and then now cardio, because I feel like that's another huge aspect of exercising. What are some of your favorite things of cardio? Obviously, you just ran a marathon, so you had to have done some shit to prepare for it.
Yeah.
What do you like doing?
I mean, for this marathon, it was just a lot of running, honestly. I mean, I did other aerobic exercises because I didn't want to blast my knees so much.
Yeah.
So I did some swimming.
Run.
Swimming is great cardio. If you have access to a pool or a lake or ocean, whatever, like open water is scary as shit though. So just if you've ever done it.
Well, luckily Lake Michigan only had one alligator in it. Did you hear that story?
No.
Dude, somebody literally had like a pet alligator and they let it out into Lake Michigan, but they taped the mouth shut. So this thing was literally just going to starve. Somebody found it, obviously, and they, I'm sure put it somewhere, like rescued it and whatnot. But
take the tape off, throw it back in the water.
Well, no, they wouldn't have done that, because then that thing would just eat everything in there. There's no predators in Lake Michigan, but coming from Florida, swimming in open water in the Gulf. Yeah, well, there's not gators, but there's there's definitely other predators that you can have in there.
Yeah.
And so I agree, open water maybe. But the swimming is cool because it's your whole body.
Yeah, swimming is great. I did a triathlon last year, or not this past summer, but the summer before that in Chicago. It was the super sprint, my first one. I'm like, I want to do this. I think it'd be really fun. It's swimming, biking, and running. It's not just one the whole time, so it kind of switches things up. Yeah, and it was just something that I feel like I've just always wanted to do. So, I thought I was in good shape. I swam in high school. I'm like, oh, it's fine. It's only 400 meters or whatever, and I started practicing. I went to the pool. God, I went like 2 laps and like already winded. Because it takes such a different movement of your body, but also the timing with your breathing. I
was gonna say you can't just breathe freely in the water.
No, it's not like running where you just breathe whenever you want to. It's definitely takes a skilled movement and a lot of practice. So that right there, once you get that first like practice in and you're kind of on the go with it, it's really good cardio. And then, like I said, jump rope, I really like to do. I like to mix it up with like double unders and like different things to make it fun. And then sprints, really, like uphill sprints. sprints with like a weighted vest on, sprints with ankle weights on, like anything I can do to add a challenge to it, so that when it's just my body, it feels so much easier. It feels like I'm a feather.
Yeah.
You know,
when you sprint, do you sprint on like grass, or do you sprint on like concrete, or?
Mostly grass.
Yeah.
Sometimes even the sand, because it adds that more resistance.
The sand.
Sprinting in sand, like your calves will burn.
Dude, that's some next level. Yeah, that's some next level workout.
In Chicago, I mean, you got the beach right there. There's a place called Cricket Hill, which is off Montrose up north. And I use that hill a lot because it's a natural hill and it's grass and it's pretty, I don't know how long. I mean, it's probably like a good at least 100 meters. So I'll do that. And that's really not as much to build the endurance, because a marathon is not just a sprint, obviously. It's to strengthen the fast twitch muscles, which when you get fatigued, those are the things that are going to help you a lot to prevent injury, to prevent as much soreness as possible. Yeah. And so I found that those things really help me.
Hell yeah. All right, dope. So because we are already about 35 minutes into this podcast, I do not want to neglect music. So let's talk about some music. Let's give a little bit of a background of your history with music, because you are super talented, man. We've had you in the studio. We've made some music with Joey. Still need to finish some of those tracks, by the way.
Oh yeah, we do.
But you are an amazing piano player, and you're a really good improviser with it too. You know, like you really can just kind of fucking riff with something. And you used to teach people. So, give a little background on that.
All right. Well, where do I start?
How'd you first get into music? Let's start there.
Yeah, I'm 26 years old. I've been playing since I was, I've been playing since I was like 4 or 5, piano. But I have been around it my whole life because my whole dad side of the family are all musicians. Well, not all musicians, but a majority of them are in some way musically inclined. And a lot of music teachers in my family. So being around that growing up, going over to my grandma's house, sitting at the piano and just like slamming on the keys. When I was 5 years old, she eventually came over and was like, she put some like, not music in front of me, but like she put some sheet music for her to play, and then would just sit beside me and play it. So then I would start really absorbing and hearing it and like getting into my brain. And it's really like anything else. Like when you learn at such a young age, it just becomes like second nature as you get older, whatever that is that you're doing. So for me, it was music. It's just, I don't know. It's like just something that I feel like I could, be away from it for 20 years and then come back to the piano. My fingers would just know where to go because it's just ingrained in me.
It's been programmed.
Yeah. So it really all just started from growing up in my family. And then as I grew up, was in like school bands and was taking private lessons, and it was kind of wanting to do my own thing all the time, like with ADD, just like all over the place, wanting to just write my own music. I just wanted to play what I wanted to play. Yeah. I didn't want to read music. I didn't want to learn because I was discouraged because I didn't know how to do it. But then once I got that under my belt and started practicing more, I took it more seriously in high school, and then went to college for music education because that's what I kind of thought that I wanted to do, because a lot of my family had done it. I had the mentality of, well, I don't know if I'm quite good enough right now to be a performance major. I don't really know anything about actually writing music. And so education was just what I went with. I can still write music if I want to. I can perform and I can teach. So graduated from Ohio Wesleyan University in Ohio and moved out to Chicago. Taught music for 3 years in the Catholic school system. Loved it. Teaching from like preschool through 8th grade. And meanwhile, growing up and through college, all this time, I experienced some hearing impediments. Later diagnosed as I lived here in Chicago, called Meniere's disease, which is an inner ear fluid imbalance, causes vertigo, hearing loss, ringing, all these things that didn't really get to the point of really affecting my ability to play and teach music until like when I started teaching, my second year of teaching really. And unfortunately that has taken me away from the classroom, which was unfortunate because it was something I really loved. I was really passionate about it. And I was like in a place where I had no idea what I was going to do, because I wasn't about to, like, I didn't know what I was going to do. I love music, but I didn't have any connections with any gigs or being a freelance musician. I had only up to that point worked either as a student in school or teaching school. So I didn't really know anything else necessarily as a career.
Yeah.
So at that point I was in a place where I needed to look for something else. And as you know, came into opportunity to be a health coach and kind of fulfilled that part of me of being a teacher.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm able to help people and see the light bulb go off and help people get transformations and learn.
So
about
it scratches
themselves.
that itch for you.
Yeah. And I'm able to still, play music with you and just do all kinds of stuff with it. So
right. Yeah. And that's the cool thing is, like, it's not gotten to the point where, like, you can't make music, but as a teacher, being able to hear properly for them, like, that's different. But like when you're able to, like, put some headphones on and, like, still be able to, like, hear what you're playing, like you can still make music, which is good.
It's matching pitch. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Which was when I was singing to kids in a classroom, I was not confident singing on pitch, and I didn't want to demonstrate poor tone and singing style for these kids that I was trying to mold their minds into, like, appreciating music and being great musicians and having someone as a role model for them. It just, it was just unfortunate.
Yeah. And talk a little bit more about that, because is there any, like, cure to it, or, like, what are the treatments? What's the known research about it? Like, where is it going for you, in 20 years? What is that going to mean for you?
Unfortunately, right now, to my knowledge, there's no cure. It's highly treatable, but, for one, it's the inner ear, which is an insanely hard place to research and do surgeries, because it's such a small part that's inside the brain, so it's unfortunate that it's, kind of just really hard to have any research and know too much about the inner ear. For me particularly, fortunately, I found a medication and some, like, natural remedies, and just through lifestyle changes with my diet, with exercise, have been able to prevent a lot of the vertigo from being a continuing thing. And for me now, it's more so the ringing and the hearing loss, which, is frustrating at times, but I can deal with that. But I didn't want to have to continue dealing with vertigo, where out of nowhere, the room starts spinning, you get nauseous, and you could just lose balance and fall or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to just lay down. And for me, I just go to sleep and try to get some sleep. And then hopefully when I woke up, it would be gone. So luckily that's kind of taken care of for the most part. But yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a firm believer that the ringing comes from, like, a neurological issue. Like, there's a misfire, or, like, there's two wires that aren't lining up quite right,
Is it like tinnitus type ringing?
Tinnitus or tinnitus, tinnitus, I don't know.
No, it's like tinnitus but I've definitely had, like, ringing in my ears, and it's probably from, like, headphones and concerts and stuff, but it's not super bad, and it doesn't happen to me super often, but there are definitely some times where all of a sudden I get fucking some ringing in my ears, and I can't imagine what you're going through.
When I was first experiencing it was, you feel like you're going crazy, because it's something that you don't know what it is or why it's happening, and then it's always there, and you're like, what's going on? Like, why is this happening? What is it? You can't just, like, turn it off.
Yeah, when you notice it, you can't unnotice it.
Yeah.
And then when it starts happening, it's like you're, like, almost consciously the whole time being like, all right, well, when's this going to stop ringing? And then it won't, And then the more you bring your awareness to it, the more it almost seems to get louder and intensify.
Luckily, I mean, I guess luckily and not luckily, I've had it long enough where at this point I can kind of tune it out. Like, when I'm going to sleep, it used to really bother me, because it's like all you would hear. It's dark, it's quiet, it's just listening to this ringing. But, if I'm in a loud place, or if I have other things going on around me to kind of distract me from the ringing, that really helps. Yeah. But it also makes it harder to hear people, because you have the ringing distracting me from being able to hear people talking to me, and especially if it's a loud place,
it's even harder.
It's just so it's really been about finding, what works and just different methods of
what are the
medicines
that are working for you. Like I remember at one point you said that you were trying like a little CBD oil, right, to like drop it in there. Has that still been something
I've noticed
you're doing?
a little bit of a difference. I think it's kind of like one of those things where you do it you do it consistently, it kind of builds up the results. But if you just do it once and then expect it to just keep working, it's not really going to work.
No, it's definitely a continual topical.
But it's definitely worked for me as far as relaxing me and kind of toning down the ringing. Which is great. And having a low sodium diet is super important, especially for the vertigo. And then avoiding as much like caffeine, alcohol, things like that. Just for me personally, I don't know, anything I've read doesn't really say like that causes vertigo or ringing, but I've also read a lot of things that say if you limit those things, it can help. So really anything that can help, you're going to limiting so that I can see whether it works for me. So
I mean, that's the only way to do it, is like you kind of just have to like keep plugging and playing, because especially with like really like, is this pretty rare that happens?
It's rare for people my age.
I was gonna say how many people like in the US are even affected? It's okay if you don't know the number.
I don't know the number, but I just know that it's more common in people over the age of 40.
Okay.
That's why it took so long for them to diagnose me, because they're like, that's weird. You shouldn't be experiencing these things at your age. If it was Meniere's disease, you'd be older and blah, blah, blah. And then they realized like I have a hereditary, like there's in my family has a history of hearing loss and hearing issues. So that combined with, I've been around loud instruments a lot of my life, so that probably does contribute.
It probably caused a little bit of damage, but
but there's no physical damage with my ear. So it's mostly just unfortunately hereditary and just the way my body
just evolved.
Grew.
Damn. But at least you're not letting it stop you, and you're definitely not letting it stop you from at least still staying in the music world. So although you can't be a music teacher, you get to fill that teaching need now with your fitness. So
exactly,
it's kind of cool that you have found a way to evolve and adapt. And I think it's a testament to your persistence and your will that you're able to not let something like that, which could break some people, not let it break you, and find ways to then not only improve your quality of life to get to the point where you now live probably a pretty normal life given that that issue, and still be able to go on and like inspire people. And I want you to still make some music, man. You gotta come in here a little bit more and
I know,
make some
right?
music with Joey.
Yeah, for sure. I'm always down to play some music, whatever it is. It's like I feel like it's so much a part of who I am that some people would say that the ringing would drive them crazy. I feel like I can deal with that. If I didn't have music in my life, that would drive me crazy. If I didn't have fitness or health in my life the way it is right now, I would go crazy, because it's I don't know. It's such a huge
it's a part
quality of life.
It's a part of your DNA, man. It's part of who you are, and it's part of what you are meant to do. And that's one of the cool things, and something that I've encouraged multiple times in this podcast, people to do what they were born to do. And you were fucking born to be both of those things. You were born to be a fitness person, and you were born to be a musician, like 100%. And I've seen you in action with both of those things. And it's so clear to me that you are on the path of doing what you were really put on here on this planet to do.
I appreciate that.
Hell yeah,
I hope you're right, man.
No, I know I'm right. And it's not because I know I'm right, but because I can tell. But it's dope, man. I
agree with you.
I'm like I'm super happy for you. This has been great having you on. I'm glad we finally got to talk about music a little bit. And I will continue to keep having you on. So next time you come on, we'll film it. We'll actually have the video aspect of it. People can see you and feel the energy. That
sounds good, man. Yeah. If any of you listening need any advice on nutrition or fitness, or want to follow me on Instagram or whatever, you can follow me at hardcore no e _24 hardcore 24.
There you go, guys. Follow him. He will motivate you. He posts stories all the time of him hustling. He will post stories of results and stuff. And if you want to reach out to him and actually get personal coaching, it's not like geographically specific. Like you have clients in other countries and stuff.
Yeah,
right?
all over.
Yeah.
China.
Yeah, like legit.
All over the parts of the U.S. So
he legit has. Like,
don't let
people,
that limit you.
Yeah, so it's definitely not location based. If you want him to help you, like he really cares. He like gives a fuck. So if you want somebody who really is gonna like be there for you and genuinely help you succeed in your goals, like reach out to him. But thanks again for coming on, man. And this is a great podcast. And you guys have a good one.
Thanks for having me.